Hey, two viewers, TJ Pyramid here. So me and the wife were kind of talking about people that don't have a hobby or a collection. Um, I we don't understand the mindset of somebody that can't collect something, or somebody that doesn't have an enjoyment or an infinity for something that they want to go out and they want to look for it or buy, no matter what it is, no matter what kind of hobby or collection it may be. The people that don't have something like that, and it blows my mind, and it kind of brings me to a question that I want to ask all of you, which, of course, me and the wife moved on to this topic as well. I'm going to call this video, What Was the Spark? And I'll explain myself a little bit better. Whether it's movies, I assume for most of the people subscribed to my channel, it's going to be horror films, mysteries, thrillers, things of that nature. But it can be, any film, any genre of film, um, any genre of books, comic books, graphic novels, anything like that. Whether it's action figures or model building. Um, I always actually wanted a model car of Christine. I think that would be cool. I think they might have released one back in the day, but anyways. So I want to know, what was your guys's spark? What was the thing that made you say, this is badass, I want to know more about this, I want to collect this, I want everything to do with this? Uh, that's what I want to know about whatever it is you collect, whatever it is that's your hobby. Even if you have multiple hobbies, multiple things, I want to know, like, if it was comic books, do you remember the first issue you ever bought, the first issue you ever read? If it was a book, was it a book you had to read in school that really clicked with you, or was it just one you found randomly, or was it one that you heard some info about and you sought out and you read it and you're like, I want to read more books? Video game-wise, TV shows, anything and everything about what you like. I'll go ahead and start here. I'm going to go ahead and go with video games. I have been a video gamer since I can remember. And it's probably going to go back to my brother picking me up, I think for a Christmas or a birthday or something like that, the Atari 2600 with a couple games. I had opened all my Christmas gifts or birthday gifts, whatever it may have been, and I was pretty happy with my toys I got. And he's like, oh, there's one more thing for you here over in the den. So we go over into the den, and under the desk, there's this box sitting there, and it's an Atari 2600. And really, I mean, I'd played my brother's Pong, but I really didn't know much about video games and that whole, type of thing. So that was my start into the whole video game world. Once I played, the Centipedes and the Pac-Mans and things like that, I was hooked. Um, from a little kid up till now, hooked on the latest video games. So many games I want to play, and it all stems from that one little spark of having that Atari 2600 bought for me by my brother. And as for movies, that goes with my brother too. Uh, he was a huge movie fan growing up. I can never remember him not watching a movie of some sort. And randomly, I would just sit there and watch them with him, and eventually it got to be where we did, every weekend, every week type thing. We'd get together as brothers, and we would, watch a movie. Whether it was something on TV, or when VCRs came out, and he'd, go buy like his $100 Raiders of the Lost Ark type thing, and we would pop that in and watch it. And that kind of, barreled from there, and I got into horror with Reanimator. That was probably the first horror film that I ever saw, that or Dawn of the Dead. And from there, that was my own foray into the horror genre. My brother's not a huge fan of horror, which is weird because that's like my favorite genre. He's more of a classics type guy. And he's brilliant about classic films, too. I mean, he can tell you who produced it, who starred in it, who won the Academy Award, who did this, who did that. So, he's brilliant that way. And that was my foray into horror. And after watching, Reanimator, that sparked. And I was like, I want to see more horror. I want to see more of this blood and gore and guts. I want to see more of this, no matter how little I may have been. It's just what I wanted to see. And my mom and dad were always really cool. They didn't care, what I was watching. If it was Reanimator or something, at like 6 or 7 years old, they didn't really care. They just figured, I'm going to see it somewhere at some point. I'm going to learn from it somewhere at some point. Don't shield me from nothing. Just let me see the world as it is. Let me go. There we go. So that's what they did. Comic books, once again, God bless my brother, because without him, I don't know. Once again, he had comic books from when he was little, and I would read those, and that got me into saying, hey, Mom, can we go to the comic book shop so I can pick me up some comics this week? And she would drive me there, and I would pick up my batch of comics, whatever it may have been. And that got me into reading comic books and everything like that. And now, like, action figures, not specifically toys, like G.I. Joes and Transformers and He-Man, little battle beasts. You guys remember battle beasts? Those little tiny, like, warrior-looking animals, and they had like a little thing on their chest, and when like the heat of your finger would rub it, it would turn to like water or fire or something. Battle beasts, GoBots, all that kind of stuff, I guess, was just kind of on my own. I would see it in the store, and I'd be like, hey, can I have this? Or I'd use my allowance or birthday money or Christmas money to pick up whatever toy, caught my eye. Which still today, when I go into a Toys R Us or a Walmart or something, if I see a toy that's cool, I'm going to pick it up and be like, oh, this is badass. And it takes me back to being a little kid. I just find it really enjoyable. But for specific, like, action figure type collecting, like the movie Maniacs, things of that nature, like the old McFarlane type toys that used to be really badass, those were probably just all mine too. Like, I would stumble into a Spencer's, or back when our GameStop, where we had another video game store called Babbage's, which we don't have anymore here. It used to carry action figures, Toys R Us. Back when Walmart's actually carried really cool action figures, because the one here now doesn't carry shit. So I would see those and I'd be like, okay, well, yeah, here's the movie Maniacs. That relates to horror, so I'm definitely going to be picking those up. And it was the same thing with any of the movie-related type figures, whether it's, the Big Lebowski, or if it's 300, or if it's video game-related stuff, like the Final Fantasy figures, things like that. That just all stems from me having that interest in the way the figures look, how detailed they are. I never really bought them to open them. If I did buy them to open them, I would do what most collectors do. I'd buy two, one to hang and one to play with. And as of what else I collect, book-wise, once again, that comes from my brother. He was always a huge reader of books, probably even more so than movies, I would think. He reads really fast, and he can read, 4 to 5 books at a time and finish them all within like a week. And he reads anything and everything, whether it's humor-based, whether it's serious, political, anything and everything. If it has written words in it, he will grab it and he will read it, going all the way to like textbooks and stuff like that. He's a reading maniac. For the longest time, though, I didn't read books because I used to hate being in school, and the English teacher, as it was, would assign us a book we had to read. We couldn't go out and pick the book. I mean, this was like through all middle school and I guess grade school or elementary school, whatever it may have been. You couldn't pick your own book. The whole class had to be given one book by the teacher, and you had to read it in the set amount of time, and you had to write like an essay and stuff on it. And that really put me off from reading, because a lot of the books they picked were just books that honestly 90% of the class was just like, oh man, and very few of us ever even got through them. They just weren't enjoyable books to me. I mean, they may have been, like Huckleberry Finn or whatever, considered classics, Catcher in the Rye, stuff like that, but I just wasn't into them, and I'm still not really into that kind of book. It wasn't until high school where I really started reading more, because then you could pick your own book. So we would go to the library there, check out a book we actually wanted to read, do the essay on it, and I would do every one of those, and I would get, A's, A minuses on them, because I enjoyed the book, so I could, associate with it when I was writing my essay or whatever have you. Um, and then, after school, kind of off and on, I would read. I was just really picky, and it might have stemmed from maybe I hadn't found the right genre. I was reading a lot of like the Dean Koontz, the Stephen Kings, of course, H.P. Lovecraft, Joe R. Lansdale, things of that nature. Joe R. Lansdale and H.P. Lovecraft are still two of my all-time favorite writers. Absolutely love it. And even some of the other lesser-known horror writers and things of that nature. And it wasn't until recently, that I decided, well, I'm going to see what this whole young adult type thing is. This dystopian revolution that's going on with books, and that's when I read The Hunger Games, and it was just like, boom, that's badass. I could associate with the characters. I loved the action. I loved what was going on. It was it played out like it was a movie in my head, and that's what got me into that. And of course, the science fiction books have always been there, like the ones, if you saw the $4 library book sale that we had, all those old school, thin, badass covered sci-fi books. You know, I love reading those little kinds of things, the old pulp novels with the creepy detectives and the shadows and the film noirish feel. I love all that stuff. I'm just glad I've gotten back into reading more. I've probably read about, I don't know, 14 to 15 books in like the past month and a half, 2 months or so. I've read a lot of books, which I'm very proud of myself for doing that. And I don't really think there's anything else that I can think of that I collect, because like with the DVDs and the Blu-rays, that just happens with being a fan of film and wanting to own the film. Same thing with like the TV shows on Blu-ray or DVD. It comes from being a fan of the show and wanting to have the show. But otherwise, collection-wise, I don't really collect a lot of stuff. But I don't really collect them anymore, even though I have gotten some. And Mark, you sent me a couple of the Hot Wheels.
I've kind of got back into action figure collecting, and I just like figure collecting in general, from like the stuff Johnny Blues has sent me, and Sparky Gerbil and Mark has sent me. So it's kind of got my juices going again to try to hunt those things down. I'm really liking those reaction figures, like the alien one that Mark got me, Killer Nerd. I'm really liking those. I wish we had a store in town that carried more of those reaction figures, because that would definitely be something I collect. I don't know how much they sell for. I assume like $20 a piece, the way figure prices are nowadays. But I'd definitely like to get more of those, get into those more. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I used to collect black metal and death metal CDs. Um, I guess I still somewhat collect T-shirts, because if I see a cool T-shirt somewhere, whether it's at Walmart or a thrift store or something like that, I'll pick it up, like that Typo Negative shirt I showed. I'll pick up shirts like that. I mean, I got a closet full of shirts. Some, there's no way I can ever wear them all. I could probably switch a different shirt every day of the week throughout the month. But so I guess I still collect those types of things. I'm still lacking on that damn Iron Maiden shirt. I cannot find Iron Maiden shirts around here to save my soul. Uh, but yeah, I think that's the basics of all the different stuff I collect and kind of how I got into it and everything. So I just want to know, if you're watching this video, give me a video response or something. Let me know all the different stuff you collect, whatever it is. Don't be shy if you collect something and you're scared to show people. We're going to have the demon voice, ladies and gentlemen. I just saw it freeze up, so we're probably going to have the demon voice. Oh, Lord, I hope so. But, yeah. Let me know what you collect. Let me know how you got into it.
as for this, I guess this is the end of my video. Subscribe, spread the word, and cheers.